welcome back to the third Saturday in October show. This is your SEC West correspondent, Alabama Chris, coming back at you, talking about media days, talking about Ole Miss right now for the SEC West. And we had Lane Kiffin up, and the man does not and did not disappoint. Got to go ahead and say it right now. The guy is one of my favorite people to hear speak, one of my favorite people to hear give opinions and talk about what he has to do, what he can do, and all usually with a little wry smile there. He's always kind of tipping his hat to being interesting. I gave him a 9 on the humor rating, just like Coach Leach from Mississippi State. I just love Mississippi right now. Mississippi college football is fun to watch, fun to enjoy the coaches. I just, across the board, I love it. So for Coach Lane Kiffin, I give a 9 on the humor rating. As far as his coach speak, I give him a 2. I mean, he went about 2 minutes, 15 seconds before he invited all the Q&As, but he said the right things. And I will sum that up towards the end of the video here, or the audio, depending on which way you're listening. But I'll sum that up soon. But want to tell you, I give Coach, I keep saying almost keep saying Coach Saban. What I mean to say is Coach Kiffin. I give him a 7 on his uni rating. His suit game was looking pretty sharp, pretty put together. It was a good colorway combination that he had going on. His hair was looking sharp. He had Matt Corral, the quarterback, the junior for Ole Miss, and Jaylon Jones, the defensive back, who's a senior. I give both those guys an 8 when it comes to their uni rating or their suit game. It was looking good. I thought they did a great job speaking behind the mics. They looked like they were confident, looked like that they are ready to get the season started. So let's go into a few things that Coach Kiffin said, memorable thoughts. I love his humor. I love that he even threw in a Nick Saban dig with the rat poison. Also talking about the SEC, Greg Sankey he fined Saban last year, and even Coach Kiffin kind of joked about that. He said that he lost Knox's college fund, and it's been depleted. His tuition money is all gone because of the, I think, $25,000 that he had to pay back to the SEC for the infraction that he had last year. But more specifically and more seriously, he said the defense just has to improve. The defense, a lot of times last year, were they just didn't look like they knew what was going on. So the first year he was there, defense has struggled. So they had to really make sure they were aggressive on offense in order to try to win the games that they could. They went 5-5 in his year there at Ole Miss, 5th in the West last year. But he says essentially that we need to all get to the same level here, defensively and offensively. We can't rely on the offense to pull us out of games if the defense isn't playing well. Everybody needs to play well so they can execute a game plan and win some games. He had a lot of good things to say about Matt Corral and his job. Well, he said at times he played great, and then at other times it looked like he needed some work. And so that consistency of having year 2 in the same program is going to be really good for Matt Corral. He even gave off some stats of how Matt was the top quarterback in the country last year in certain criteria. And so he continues to hope that Matt Corral puts together a good season this year. He said if he had a ballot to put the quarterback starter for the year, he would put Matt Corral there, because consistently and statistically last year, he was number 1 in a lot of criteria. He is back this year, where some of those other quarterbacks are now gone. They're in the NFL, and they're no longer playing in the SEC. So he thinks that Matt Corral is as good a quarterback as any quarterback, not just in the SEC West, not just in the SEC, but in the entire college football landscape. That Matt Corral is going to be his pick for if you had an all-American team 1 quarterback. He's given it to his own quarterback in Matt Corral. He was talking kind of humorously about how Saban will find a way to win, regardless of what it is. He will find something to motivate his team, whether it's rat poison, or it's the coaching changes, or it's we won last year, what are we going to do this year? Coach Saban always finds a way to motivate himself, motivate his staff, and to motivate his players to play at a high level. And when you continually are bringing in top 5 or if not number 1 recruiting classes, that's easy to keep that culture going. But he had nothing but good things to say. somebody asked him about his Twitter usage and what he has learned through doing that. And he said it was something that he had to learn really out of necessity. That back in the day, there was these, fine print that you couldn't text a player, you couldn't call a player, but there was nothing in there at the time about a player reaching out to them in their DMs on social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter. And so he learned Twitter as an assistant at Alabama, because he was trying to figure out ways to legally communicate to people. And then he actually learned that he liked using Twitter and continued to do it there. He said that he was asked about analytics. He said analytics have absolutely changed the way that he coaches, that it's less about feel and more about facts. But you can't just play on facts alone. You have to actually feel out what's going on, that you can statistically see that you need to go for it on 4th and down, or you need to kick a field goal versus go for the touchdown. But there's a lot to play there too, because the statistics can help you, but what about momentum? What about if your kicker is performing well or not? What about the people in the stadium? How are they helping the team? And so their analytics have really changed the football landscape from a coaching perspective, and it's challenged a lot of coaches because so many of the ways that a coach is taught to coach are different when you're looking at analytics, because it's not just about personal head knowledge. It's not just about the field. It's about those analytics too, but there has to be a good balance in there to make those game times decisions. Sometimes you have to look and see, okay, what statistically is the best thing to do? Now that we know that, then how are we feeling in the game? So then it's still about a feel, it's still about a give and take, but those analytics make you look at it from a different perspective. Somebody said that Coach Saban earlier in the day had talked about his quarterback, Bryce Young, now nearing the $1 million mark when it comes to what he is now currently making with the new NIL deal. And he was blown away by it. He heard it. He talked about it for a little bit, like, wow, I cannot believe that a player who hasn't even started a game yet is now making somewhere around $1 million by the season starts. By the season end, if Alabama is improving, it's going to be well over $1 million. But he was just blown away that a guy who's not even played yet is already earning almost $1 million from that. And so he said that. And then a few questions later, he almost in the middle of the person asking the question, he stopped and was like, I can't believe this. I can't stop thinking about Bryce Young. Like, more power to him. And he, as a lot of the coaches, Coach Kiffin, and when I say he, like a lot of the coaches that were on the podium over SEC Media Days, talked about that this is a good thing. This is a good thing for players to be able to profit off of their name, image, and likeness, to make some money in the season, or as a collegiate athlete, like other people should have the ability to do, that now those college athletes can do the same. Didn't go into details about if it's fair or not. He just said it's a good thing that players can now earn a living based on how well they do, even at the collegiate level. But I loved it how he was so blown away that he had to interrupt somebody else talking and go like, I still can't get over this Bryce Young thing. So I thought that was really cool. He was asked at some point if he was going to be playing Coach Dabo Swinney over at the Clemson Tigers. And I can't remember off the top of my head right now if it was a golf game or a basketball game. I feel like it was basketball. But he said something to the degree of, I just got to get in better shape. I got to lose some weight if I'm going to be able to play and then beat Dabo. And then somebody asked him about his weight loss strategy. And he kind of sat there and thought and looked at the guy. Shout out to Connor at Saturday Down South, who asked the question. And he said something to the degree of, like, that's strange to ask another man about their weight loss strategy, but whatever. I thought that was really good. Again, Coach Kiffin, I keep saying Saban for some reason. I guess that's part of the job when you're an Alabama fan, talking about the rest of the SEC West. But I just love that he has that kind of off-the-cuff humor that he's playing with when he up there in front of all those people. He was asked about his dad, who is a famous coach, great coach in his own right, and said that is he still going to be working in an analyst position? He said that his dad still shows up. He's one of the first people, if not the first person, in the mornings, and he's been doing that ever since 1981. That's 40 years that Coach Kiffin Sr., Coach Lane Kiffin's dad, has been showing up early, putting in the hard work, earning the trust, figuring out what to do to be a successful coach. So I love it when certain coaches are asked about other coaches that were mentors, or their father who was a mentor. It really shows their human side, and I really appreciate that. So all of that comes with Coach Lane Kiffin for the Ole Miss guys over there. I appreciate it, enjoyed it. I listened to it a couple times through. I think that I listened to Coach Kiffin's presser there about 3 times through and enjoyed it every time. But I can sum it up by saying that Coach basically was saying, last year we struggled defensively. We have to do better there. Last year, we had to lean on our offense too much. We have to take that pressure off. So we need to balance it out to compete at a higher level in the SEC West. I tend to agree with him. I don't think that's coach speak at all. I think that's just him telling you like it is as a coach in the SEC West at Ole Miss, and how they will have to perform if they are planning to beat some of these teams that they are playing from behind already preseason. The win-loss total is already kind of tallied up in a lot of people's heads for some of these teams, especially the teams in Arkansas or Mississippi when it comes to the SEC West. But he says if we can be more consistent and bring the defense and the offense up to a great level, we can perform a lot better. We can all perform at a higher level and have a better end of the season record and continue to try to bring greatness to the Ole Miss guys over there in Mississippi. So on behalf of the third Saturday in October, this was Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and their Media Day review for the SEC Tailgating podcast for the rest of us, the third Saturday in October show. This is Alabama Chris, and on behalf of my co-caster, Tennessee Bradley, just want to say we love you. We appreciate you coming through and listening to us talk about these coaches and media days. We look forward to you joining us soon on the third Saturday in October show, the SEC Tailgating podcast for the rest of us, saying I'm out and roll balls, baby.